You know, I was excited for new Lord of the Rings material. I thought people were really going to be into this. Boy, was I wrong. So I have a story to tell you all. When I was in fourth grade, I had a friend named Rocky. And Rocky and I were really into Lord of the Rings. We would sit on the phones and talk about it for hours, me with my feet up in the air, kicking around and giggling. We had good times. We went out in the outdoors and pretended like we were hunting orcs. It was a perfect childhood. And I wish I could have someone to talk to about this again. I wish I could have Rocky, because no one seems to like this show. I have no idea why. And I miss you, Rocky. I miss you. No, it was the best first season of television I've ever seen. It's in my top three favorite shows right now, at least, next to Phineas and Ferb and The Twilight Zone, Ring of Powers. So I'm really impressed with it, and I'm going to explain why. I've watched episodes 3 through 5 now. Actually, to be honest, I've watched the entire season, but we'll only talk about 3 through 5. And let me tell you, it's a masterpiece. I'm really into it. And if you're not into it, don't be like some of these YouTubers who put up titles, Ring of Powers is a masterpiece, and then when you go and watch it, they were actually just joking. You know, that is rude. If I had a video like Get Out is the best movie ever, and then you clicked on it, and it was like, no, haha, I don't like Get Out, you'd be offended by that. You were a fan, and you just wanted to get a good viewpoint about it. So I really don't like the way some people are talking about Ring of Powers. If you like it, just be honest, and if you don't, don't. Just don't be rude to people that do like it. The first thing I wanted to discuss was the characters. I didn't talk about this a lot in my last videos because I wanted you all to be surprised when you watched them for the first time. I wanted you to discover them for yourselves. Elrond and Durin have this great back and forth with each other. What I really like about Elrond is he's pretentious, but he doesn't really realize he's being pretentious. He's almost like a perfect character. Of course, he's not, but there's just a little bit, there's those little chinks. And sometimes that's great to see in a character when they're so powerful and so perfect almost, but they're not quite. It's a kind of character that you just don't see a lot in fiction. Durin might be my favorite character. He's trying to please his father, and he can be so sensitive at times. You know, how can you not love a character who gets offended by something that Elrond says and then goes off with a huff puff? But then, you know, you have these moments with them, like they're like mining for Mithril. Maybe that happens a little later. It's a problem with having watched these episodes a little in advance. But yeah, you know, the moment I remember, it's from the first two episodes, but Elrond puts his hand on Durin's shoulder and he's like,
congratulations on your wife, your children. I hope you can come to forgive me.
It's just those moments, it's like, this is the perfect bromance. Then we have Galadriel, who is not a perfect character. She is very flawed. She is obsessive. She scares me sometimes, but that's a good thing. She's going to go through an arc, I think. She's going to get to the point where she's like the Galadriel from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. We just have to wait for it. That's part of storytelling. But there were a few scenes I didn't like with her, like when she beat all the guards into this prison cell. It was unrealistic. I would have been fine with it if they'd showed how she did it. I get that she's an elf. She probably does have magic powers. But I wish they would have shown how she got them all into the cell. That's one of my complaints. Some of the minor characters, Arondir, Nori, the Stranger, they all fulfill their purpose. It's like the original Lord of the Rings, where, these stories, they don't all have to be intricate characters. Although, I think actually all of these characters are intricate in their own ways. But it's not going to be like Michael Scott. Not every character is going to be jumping around. Some characters just need to be in the background. And I think that's how the original Lord of the Rings film trilogy was. I don't see a problem with that. But I am still wondering who the Stranger is. I'm pretty sure it's Gandalf now. I actually kind of hope it's Gandalf. I think from a storytelling perspective that makes more sense. But, whatever. I don't really care. Now I'm going to get into the story, and I want to be careful here because I don't want to spoil anything. I do want you all to watch this for yourself, but I'll give you a few details. Episode 3 is technically my favorite of the season, even though it does have the most faults. There's a lot of weird slow motion scenes that I don't get. There's a character that dies who, I can't even remember the name of them, but they act like it's so dramatic. And also, I believe this is where Galadriel pushes the guards into the cell. But with all that said, this episode was damn fun. I am sorry, but Arondir is fighting these orcs and this warg who, I've heard people say they don't like the look of the warg, but I thought it looked great. I thought he was really creepy, and maybe that's why it put off some people, because he does look disturbing. And there's Galadriel going to Numenor, and she's uncovering all the mysteries there. A Keen that's like living up in his tower, and there's a lot of tension in the air because there hasn't been an elf in Numenor for a long time. And Nori is going with the Stranger, trying to figure out who he is, and her father hurt his leg, and they're going to have to be put in the back. So, very interesting episode. A lot of mysteries going on. Episode 4 also has a lot to give us. There's this great wave that comes crashing in and it looks like it's going to destroy Numenor. There's talk of the Palantir, which if you don't know, that's a really powerful object in J.R.R. Tolkien lore. And this is the episode that has my favorite scene of the whole show, when the Stranger, probably Gandalf, takes his staff up in the air and he hits it down on the ground, and all of these wargs go flying up into the air. And I don't know why, it was so awesome to me. I was just like, yes, that is Lord of the Rings right there. And for a show that is so supposedly woke, it talks a lot about the Catholic faith. I mean, they didn't shy away from Tolkien's original opinion of this, that this was a religious story. There are a lot of hints throughout that that's what this is about. They don't come out and say it, of course. That's not what Tolkien ever wanted. But they hint at it quite a bit. And how many television shows do you know today that will even discuss religion? You gotta give them credit for that. Episode 5 is my least favorite of the show, and it's by no means terrible, but it's the only one where I was like, okay, I can kind of understand why people say this has slow pacing, because there's so many talking scenes after talking scenes. And some of it I do enjoy. I enjoy the stuff with Elrond and Durin, them talking about Mithril. I could watch those two interact off each other for hours. It's the straight man and the goofball, Abbott and Costello. But then there's this stuff with Elendil and Isildur and Galadriel, and I don't care all that much. Maybe just a little bit. But I think they do make up for it by the end, where the Numenorians are leaving for Middle-earth, and it's just this gorgeous scene, and I'm like, okay, so that was just build-up for this moment. And that moment made it all worthwhile. So, my least favorite, but that's still a B, so, take that for what it's worth. And that's about it. As always, I wanted to say the music is phenomenal. The acting is phenomenal, like last time. I guess the reason why they have newer actors, though, is because it's less expensive, but still, it's nice to see, and again, I think they do a great job. But, I don't know. I feel like Ring of Powers is the underdog right now. Because nobody really likes it. Everyone's saying that it's going to fail. Everyone had it set for it to fail. So really, it wouldn't be that interesting if that's what happened. So I hope that Ring of Powers does succeed. I would find that hysterical. That would prove to me that life can have a sense of humor sometimes. But it probably won't, and it'll end up like costing it Amazon big, and life will go on. But yeah, it would be really funny if Ring of Powers win. If that happens, well, no, life can laugh at us.